Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jeranism back with a live video for you today. Let's talk about and take a look at more NASA evidence, or more evidence that NASA's a fraud, as is their little vector logoed friends, Nos Cosmos in Russia, Jaktia in Japan, and of course, who can forget Fake X? Don't forget them. Blue Origin, I think that's their name too. There's equally as fake as the rest of them. No public or any kind of, they don't give any kind of announcements when their launches are going to be. Nothing at all. They don't tell you where the location is, so no press is allowed there, because that's what you do when you're really doing lots of real stuff, right? So, speaking of those wonderful space agencies, let me bring you up with the, what is that there for? 1 second. Don't know what that is. Interesting. Okay, we'll do this one. All right. So, bring up this page for you. Some interesting things I added to the upper right-hand corner of the live stream little overlay there. It took me almost a few hours to get it right, but I finally did. It is the Space Scam spending clock. I'll keep that going at all times for us. That is the amount of money stolen from the world since 1960 by our space agencies. It was figured out quite easily. Just looked up space revenue, space-related revenue, and believe me, there is a ton. And let's see, this year was $335 billion, I believe, or that's what the proposal is, or the estimation. So 335, and then you can go back as far as about 1960 and see what we spent every year. So added that up, and then forecasted next year at $340 billion. And simply took that number and divided by 365 and by 24 and then by 60 and then by 60 and then figured out exactly how much it would be per second. And it is around $10,464. So every second that goes by, we add another $10,464 to the never-ending space scam spending clock until somebody decides to pay us back. But it's going to take some work, mostly because most of the world still is under this belief that these things we're about to take a look at are real. That even though they've never been to space, they'll never go to space. For some reason, they want to believe in it so bad that they will allow someone to just make up anything they want about it. Doesn't matter what they say. Let's go over to, first and foremost, let me check over here. If you're in the Discord chat, hello. I've got that open so I can see anything you guys have to say. I don't have the regular chat open yet. I might soon, and I know I'm behind on my ask.fm questions, so if you have sent one of those in the last 2 days, I have not got to them. I will soon. Let me get to this now, 1 second. So we're going to be watching some videos here, and let's just start out with the first one here, just to show you why you might want to doubt space. This is everyone's favorite camera, the P900. Which is going to show us Saturn, the big, beautiful sphere that is Saturn. And while we're watching this masterpiece of beautiful sphere gas planets, if you could just let me know in the chat, somebody, if the sound of the video is okay and my sound is okay. If not, then I'll probably throw a fit and leave. So we'll see. But while we watch this, remember, this is Saturn. And I just got done the other day doing a video where they were talking to somebody from NASA, and she said that before Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 went out, she'd been looking through the best telescopes in the world, and all they could see past Mars were fuzzy dots. So they based their whole thing on fuzzy dots. Let's continue watching, and I'll check the chat to see how the sound is. Thank you very much. The chat is funny. Thank you guys very much. I see everybody saying there's no visual. No, that's the visual. That is Saturn, believe it or not. He's kind of on the left-hand side there. I don't know if you guys have looked through a telescope at Saturn. I did. I was completely and totally unimpressed. I don't know what it is. I'm not claiming to know what it is. It certainly is interesting. However, to go to the de facto, it's 10 times the size of Earth. It's this big gas giant, and those rings are 60-mile wide bands of rock that Cassini is flying through as we speak. Yeah, I'm not going to take that leap of faith until I see some sort of evidence that deserves it, and I have yet to see anything like that. So yeah, this is your Saturn. Can you say that looks like a sphere? Yeah, it's up to you. Does it spin? I think so. Does it? Is it just gas? Is it just, how big is it? I have no idea. Could be tiny. Could be tiny and close, or it could be big and far. Who do you have to trust? Well, you got to go back to your wonderful NASA. So, let's discuss more about them as we move on and talk about some space fakes. Hopefully this video will stay short, but I just want to show off some things that more and more people should start awakening to. We're now watching a Kennedy Space Center launch of the shuttle Discovery. Another thing we never see is all these military helicopters that are there all over. And we're going to watch something here at the takeoff. By the way, for those who don't know, you're about to watch the world's most expensive balloon. The big red tank, the expendable tank. Yeah, that is a big helium balloon. And in my opinion, it's a big helium balloon, and we'll see several reasons why. You can see this thing will start rocking as if it's a balloon. And let's see it go. I don't have any sound on if you're wondering. That sound just drives me crazy. So this red thing is the balloon as it goes up here. And as it... Oops, I lost my page. There we go. As you see, as it starts to go, well, the plane is heavier than the helium balloon, so it kind of falls on its back, and they make up some excuse to tell us that it's supposed to do that, because that makes a lot of sense. Considering you're going to expel this tank from you, I'm assuming you want to be under it, because it clearly makes a lot of sense. Let's watch something a little closer here in a second. We're going to get to... Now, pay attention to something here that's interesting. Remember how fast this thing is supposedly going, or how fast it has to go to get out of the atmosphere? It's ridiculous when you really, really think about it. I mean, we can barely get a bullet to go 1,200 miles per hour, 1,500 miles per hour. That's how fast a bullet is shot. So if you just made it a bunch bigger and put a bunch of people inside of it, you could go 17 times as fast as that bullet. Keep dreaming. This thing here looks like an airplane. Okay, an airplane that flies away from you is the same speed as the shuttle and all the rockets fly away from you. Are they moving at any faster speed? Do we see them just take off and they're gone? You ever watched we'll watch an F-18 fly by here in a second. But I want you to pay attention to something here. When these tanks expel, first thing to watch for, well, there's a cut coming up here in a few minutes, or in a few seconds. I think it's around 50 something. And then you'll see the fire start out in front of these things. Let's go ahead and play it and I'll show you. The cut happens before that, so the cut's going to happen right about here somewhere. You'll just see a little glitch of a cut. Watch it, watch it, watch it. There it was. And then watch the fire out here in front of the ship. I'm going to pause it actually. Okay. So, for me, again, hey, I could be dumb as a bag of rocks. Who knows? What do we have fire out there for? What? Now we've got fire burning here. Now, this tank's on fire. The top one. but why did that fire come out of the top? What? Let's go back just and see if I missed something here. Okay, so everything's on there. And there's the cut. And we get boom. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me that that would happen because those tanks fell off. Everything gets engulfed. And we lose those. And of course, do we never get a finishing view? No, this thing just flies off and then they show us this guy reaching for it. And they go to black. Pretty funny. Now what I want you to see next is pretty hilarious. So if you don't know what that was, that orange tank that's on there is called the exterior tank. It actually gets dropped. Let's watch it here as it drops. Is it this one? I believe so. All right. So this is the tank supposedly. Now get this. This video is being taken by people on the shuttle after it has been expended and they're orbiting around or doing, I don't know what they do, being clowns. This thing falls and they're able to track it with the camera. Okay, so let's keep watching this thing fall. Doesn't even look like the same tank to me. And what do you think happens with that tank? Many people might think, oh, well, that's easy. It gets recovered. No, it gets burnt up in the atmosphere and never reaches Earth. That's what they want you to believe. That just, and this thing goes off right after Miko. So it's not even on there very long, maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I don't know. And then it falls back but never reaches Earth because it burns up in the atmosphere. And yet, think of all the highly sophisticated electronics that must be, and the electric that must be run through it. I mean, everything that must be used to make it up. I mean, first of all, it's got to get the rocket to, or I'm sorry, the shuttle to space. So isn't it going to be made of the best titanium? And I mean, who knows what it's made of? But why do we have to, and oh, see that? That was interesting too. Looks like they're in a plane, not in a shuttle. And then they see some white thing here flying. I don't know what that is, and I don't know why this guy's head's in the screen either. You know, these are the kind of things you can't bring up when you're talking to NASA fanboys because they'll just say, dude, they're showing this off a screen. They're filming the screen, dude. Okay, great. Then I just won't bring those things up. They're constant anomalies. Every single video gets kind of tiresome, though, considering they never have to do that one thing which anybody else would have to do, and that's show proof, show evidence, show facts, not just conjecture and not just because smart people say so. That doesn't mean anything. We've seen what direction that goes. So let's go to the next video and watch again. Hopefully you start finding these as funny as I do, saving some of the best to last. Here is this one. For some reason, we've got a white screen. Looks like some sort of shed. Don't know what that, little sled or something. Oh, it's the tank. In case you were wondering. This tank looks nothing like, I mean, what is going on here? Is this thing, this is falling back to Earth so that it's expanded, or is it in orbit? I mean, all of their nonsense absolutely is not logical. It's just not the way things would go. Why would you let this burn up in the atmosphere rather than recover it? Why not put a parachute on it and recover it? How could the parachute be more expensive than everything it took to build that thing? It's a joke. And again, remember how big of a joke our country is anyway. That we had 6 vehicles at the time, then down to 4 after 2 of them supposedly got lost. But we had 4 vehicles at the very least that could take humans to and from space. It could go into orbit. It could stay for weeks at a time. It could fix satellite dishes. It could do all, or satellites. It had all these capabilities. The United States, let's just get rid of it. Let's just get rid of it. What do we need it for? It's not important. So now every time you see the old lady or a Two Fish and those guys going up to the ISS, $84 million a seat on the Soyuz to take a ride to space to do what? Blow bubbles and make magic circles out of film. I don't know what they do. They don't do any science. They never have done any science because it's all a big scam to take your money, as you can see by the clock in the upper right. So this thing, I guess, is still falling to Earth. I don't know how long it falls for. I don't know what craziness is going on. That does remind me, I did want to show you guys something. I wonder if I can find it quickly. Don't know if you guys have seen the most recent, or there's a recent launch It's almost like the GoPro launch. I think I dropped it in this box. Let me see if I can find it here. If I can find it, I would love to show you. Let me see here. I mean, this thing's still falling. I don't know. I can't. This thing was just driving me crazy. I was just laughing all day long at this thing. And it gets worse, believe me. But let me go and see if I can find this video for you. I don't remember if I do know where it's at or not. Did I save it? No. The video is of, like I said, it's like the GoPro launch. The Go Fast rocket, the one that a lot of people said they thought hit a dome or something like it. It's the same situation again, only this one they actually claim that it's in microgravity for 6 minutes. Let me show you the video. It's worth seeing. Give me 1 second as I secure it. And hopefully you guys are watching right now. The falling tank ever so slowly. Probably because it's still halfway filled with helium. That's my guess. Let's see here. All right. Get this link for you. It is a YouTube video. I hope, yeah, it is. I hope. Whoops, that's not the right plot. Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys got any suggestions of what you think that could be doing as far as its so-called fall. Doesn't look like microgravity. It's certainly not stuck. Let's see here. I got this one. Let me grab the URL. Okay. So I do have that video ready. We'll cue that up in a second here. I think you'll find it interesting. Maybe most of you might have already seen it, to be honest. I'm not sure, but it's still worth a gander. All right, so I'm going to bring that up right now. 1 second. Turn this down. And let's turn this off for a second. Still falling. All right, so now we're going to go over to this other one here. And you'll have to watch it carefully. And then, you know, I've had a lot of people, I put it into my patrons group, and everybody seemed to think that it was slowed down, or I'm not so sure. I don't think it was slowed down. Let me switch over so you can see. And there we go. So this is just at the takeoff here. And we will start watching. And I'll give you some sound too. Here we go. So we do get a little, we do lose a little bit of the view here in a second, but you can still see behind it just a little bit, so keep your eye on it. And this is pretty incredible to me. This is, you know, if this is real, we got problems. Somebody's lying to somebody. So watch carefully here. So still behind there, you can still see a little bit of the snow. Gets a little hard to see right here. But now it just stopped. Made that sound, stopped. Oops, sorry. It's kind of making a creaking noise. That's all I can hear. So I don't think they're playing it slow motion here, but you'll see coming in the background, we can start to see more of the ground or clouds, whatever that might be. Now the question becomes here, what is going on? This rocket went up in the sky, straight up, not a la NASA horizontal, because it has to be. This thing is not falling. Clearly it is not rising. Some people might say it's a parachute. It wouldn't have stopped the way it stopped with a parachute. Certainly doesn't seem to come down like it's with a parachute. I don't know what could be happening here. A lot of people said that maybe it's slowed down. You know, I don't think it's slowed down. And if you look down here, we'll just scroll down a little bit. I don't know if you can see what I see, but it does say, did I read it here? Well, somewhere it said that there was a unedited material at 10:11. There is a dissolve due to technical reasons, but it does say that there was 6 minutes of right here. The experiment on board the Maypheus 6 research rocket took off from a strange launch facility in northern Sweden, experienced microgravity for 6 minutes 19 seconds. So this is microgravity that now we float. So I mean, this is a problem here. You know, I thought that they don't float. It's because they're always falling and they're going around the ball Earth, and that's why they have the feeling of weightlessness, all the other junk they tell us. Well, what's going on with this rocket? Experiencing microgravity is the same as floating? I don't know. Check the chat and Discord, see if anybody's got anything to say here about that. Don't know why that is. So, would love to hear some of the ideas behind what is going on here. I can't explain it. Now, as you see, we're starting to, let me see how far we've got. We're still only 3.5 minutes in to a 13-minute video. I'm going to pull forward just a little bit. There's just more spin, and now you'll see that it slowly looks like it is kind of coming down. Slowly, maybe not. Maybe it's just a spin. But it does look, it actually does look like it's gaining the ground a little bit to me. And yeah, and then you'll see here it really starts coming. We'll kind of fast forward this a little bit. And I'll drop this link in the show notes or the description so you can... I'll turn up the volume a little bit so you can hear the fall down. And you tell me, is it real? I don't know, it's a German aerospace center. Certainly is a GoPro lens. That much we can see. Fast forward a little bit further. Now there, it's a little bit earlier than this. You can actually hear the parachute open. So I don't think it was falling with a parachute before that, unless it had two. Again, I wouldn't know that. Oh, did this already hit the ground? Oh, it already hit the ground. Getting close, I guess. Yeah, see there you can hear the parachute is open. I don't remember where it hits the ground. But it just hits and falls over. I mean, I'm not going to vouch for it and say it's real by any stretch of the imagination, but it certainly does what a rocket would do in my opinion, right? It takes off, went extremely fast. Every rocket I've seen, shoots out like a bat out of hell, except for NASA's. I thought you could actually see it hit the ground, but now I don't see. Oh yeah, here it comes. So it must be going through the cloud layer there. And here it comes almost all the way to the bottom. And it hits and tips over. So that's that video, but I wanted to show you that. I thought that was extremely interessante. So check that out and yeah, make a video about it or let me know what you think was going on there. Let's go back to the wonderful balloon tanks. And we'll move on to the next one. Oops. Let's see, is that video almost over? Well, we'll keep playing this one. So it keeps falling, 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 falling. You'll see there's even little pieces of debris now falling with it. And if you want to see one burn up like I do, because I said, wait, they've got to have one that burns up in the atmosphere. How come we can't see it? That's coming up shortly here. You're going to love it. And this one here just switched to a dark camera. You know, they always do that. right here. Which, again, remember, how is the shuttle following this? Isn't the shuttle in orbit? Ridiculous. And it just turned to a black camera. Don't know how or why. And it just goes out. Gets to about this part. And you'll see... Now it looks like it's not moving at all. Looks like it's floating there by a balloon. And then, up, bump the camera. Turn around and... Surprise, we're in the shuttle. As if they were taping out the window or something. I don't know. Bunch of crap. Let's continue to the next tank. We did that one, didn't we? Let's do this one. Yeah, this one again, so it's now been released from the shuttle. They're watching it fall down at tremendous speeds. Breakneck speeds. Look at this. You got to hear this guy talk right here because they make a total mistake. And you got to hear this much.
A view of the external tank following separation. And all indications are that the tape itself is being rewound and moved into, queued up to the proper position for that playback.
All indications are that the tape is being rewound and queued up to play at the correct spot. In case you didn't know that. Pretty funny. And this looks like
we can the downlink see you setting up the playback. I'll give you the playback window times if you're ready.
I'll give you the playback times when you're ready. Look at this thing. I mean,
And it's on Elvon Park.
I don't even know what to say about it, to be honest. It's not real. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Oh, here we go. Ready for this? This is going to be it burning up in the atmosphere, I guess. Or you tell me what it is. Oh, there's the burn up. Yeah. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Come on, burn up. Then they say, this next thing they say is that it's going to expend its gas. It's going to get rid of its excess gas now. And what is that? A Wi-Fi signal? Something interesting there. I don't know if you guys can see. Watch the left side of the screen. I saw something. See something? I didn't see that before. Let me go back a little bit, see if I can catch it again. What is that? I don't know if you guys can see it. Interesting. One more time. Watch it again. Left side, right in here. There's definitely something there. Don't know what would be falling with the tank. And again, just to think that this is the orbiter, this is the shuttle filming this. And this isn't even the worst one. There's one more worse. This one here, I mean, this just gets ridiculous. What are these white things? I tried to pause it on them. Can't really place what they are. I don't think they can be the other tanks. Doesn't seem like they'd be still falling right with it, but I mean, this thing's squirting gas. I mean, look at this. I don't know what's going on up here. What are these two things? This is supposed to be the tank burning or doing something. I don't know. And it's still got to burn up in the so-called atmosphere when it's coming back at 100 miles per hour. Yeah, it looks real. I'm buying it. Where do I sign up to give more of my money to NASA? All the great things they've done for me. All the tanks that they've burnt up. And I'm considering that's not very good for the environment. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I always feel bad if I burn some trash or something in the backyard. I feel bad. But not NASA. They just burn anything. Doesn't matter. Air conditioners, units from the ISS, dirty laundry, shitty underwear, tanks, burn it all. Who cares? We are marching through space. You know how far we've gotten already? We've gotten like 300 miles from Earth. Well worth the well over $5 trillion that you see in the clock up in the upper right. Not in my book. Yeah, this thing just keeps going. And again, do we see it actually burn up in the atmosphere? I mean, how is the shuttle staying with this? Somebody starting to get me a little pissed off because it's time we recognize that we've been lied to. You can't just keep being a fanboy of these people and accepting everything that they give you as Godspell. It's just not. Okay, let's go to the one worse than this. Look at this one. I mean, this doesn't even look like the same tank. I just want you guys to pay attention to the amount of bubbles we see. We're about to see more bubbles than should be allowed in any venue, even a child's birthday party. I mean, to me, it's rising up. Like they're in the water. They're in the ocean. It's rising up. Or somewhere in a tank. I don't know. Look at this thing. Remember, this is falling, supposedly. Which, again, if anybody has ever thought about the ISS or the orbiter, you could never have a film like this. You could never have a video of you upside down. You would always be at the top of the ball. You would always be at the top of the sphere. Look at all these bubbles. Here it goes. I mean, this is shittier than the Pacific Ocean. Look at this. Here goes all the bubbles. Bubbles, 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 bubbles. Space bubbles. Rise to the surface. Space bubbles. This doesn't even look like the tank anymore. Up. They always do that with the camera, like jerk it. We're on the wrong thing. I mean, I don't know if this is them filming upside down in a plane. I have no idea what's going on here. They make it impossible. Thank you so much, Michael. Appreciate it. That's the Neil deGrasse and Lawrence Krauss and Bill Nye rendition of Drop It Like It's Hot. Originally performed by Snoop Dogg. So, anyway, pretty ugly. I don't know even if this looks like the tank here or what's going on. How is it falling so slowly? Would love to hear somebody tell me about that. Let's continue on with more of this junk, as I'll call it. Well, let's go look real quick. I will actually bring up this huge phallic symbol. Obviously, that's what they're trying to get across here. I don't know what else. And if you notice, in all these images, they have this thing, roped down. Like, this thing's not going anywhere. Well, yeah, because it's full of helium. So you want to make sure you secure that balloon. Otherwise, it could just take off. Here's another picture of the tank. Let me see if we can view image of that one. I mean, none of them look correct to me at all. It just looks horrendous. Every picture looks wrong. They're parading this thing through streets. This is all to get buy-in, so that when you say space is fake, somebody says, it's not fake, dude. I saw the external tank go by my town. How could it be fake? Dude, get a physics book. Can't be fake. They drove it on a cart in front of my house. It definitely means it went to space, even though they all burn up in the atmosphere and never come back. This one I saw. Don't worry about it. I mean, these pictures are classic. And I guess they're all from the orbiter. I don't know what else is taking their picture. But again, you might want to believe these things. Who am I to tell you what you should and should not believe? Enjoy yourself if you want to believe in fairy lands and fantasy worlds where this tank is filled with some sort of liquid hydrogen or liquid oxygen or whatever they're sending these up in. I seriously doubt it. Again, have you ever seen The Connection? I don't know if you've ever... I know Jungle Surfer's done some great videos on that. Others as well. There's a tiny little 3-prong little iron connector. And you're telling me that people are going to ride up in the shuttle and they're going to have their life on the line with that little connector that's all that's holding those two things together? I doubt it. I doubt it, seriously. So anyway, this thing's a mess. Let's move on. Do I have something else up here? Well, let's go ahead and read real quick just a few things from the Wikipedia that I thought were interesting to point out. And again, the funniest thing is they got rid of them. So now we pay $87 million a ride when they worked fine. There was nothing wrong with them. I'm sure that they may have needed some repairs. Did they need $87 million every time you send an astronaut? I mean, think of how much money they've wasted on that. And I don't really believe that they're wasting money on that. I believe that they are stealing money. This is how you set up a great devious plan with things like this, to where you get rid of the orbiters and now you need to pay money to Russia and you funnel more money through them. If you had the shuttles, people would say, well, why don't you take the shuttles? You don't need $87 million to send astronauts to space. But they do, and this has been a well-constructed hoax for 50 years. And some of the people in the government are absolutely fooled by it. Some of them know. Some of them have no idea. So this thing talks about its size, and it went through various weights. I always think it's funny whenever you look at the weight of something. I mean, what would you guess if I said, what do you think that the tank weighs? Come on, just guess something. What do you think the tank weighs? Pretty much everybody out there would say, I don't know, 66,000 pounds. And you would be correct that it weighs 66,000 pounds. If I can find it. It says it somewhere in here. This one says 77,000 pounds initially, but they said that they changed it. Oh, here we go. 66,000 pounds. So, just funny. And as you continue down here, it just talks about the different tanks. They went through a couple different designs made by Lockheed Martin. Has 3 primary structures. Okay, so let's read about this. This liquid oxygen tank is talking about here the different ways it's constructed. But I think the funnier thing is when it talks about how well it's protected and how well it's built, even though it burns up in the atmosphere. So it's built so well because it's got to get up into the atmosphere. Then on the way back, well, then the building kind of, it was good enough to go, but not really good enough to come back. It's kind of like an in-between build. It says here, the ET thermal protection system consists primarily of spray-on foam and insulation, plus preformed foam pieces and pre-molded ablator materials. The system also includes the use of faux phenolic thermal insulators to preclude air liquefaction. So it's got some sort of air insulators, but doesn't work when it's coming back. I guess they turn them off. Thermal isolators are required for liquid hydrogen tank attachments to preclude the liquefaction of air on exposed metal and to reduce the heat flow into the liquid hydrogen. While the warmer liquid oxygen results in fewer thermal requirements, the aluminum of the liquid oxygen tank forward areas require protection from aero heating. So now it requires protection from aero heating, and it burns up in the atmosphere when it comes back. If you believe this, I don't know how to tell you to wake up any clearer than wake up. Just look around. I think, as scary as it might seem, it's kind of like the point of life. Can you recognize that you've been lied to on a massive scale? Hey, thank you very much. There's a ton of solid reasons the Earth is flat, absolutely. I mean, I think we can just go to the basic one, right? Water lies flat. I mean, as basic as it gets. Everybody wants to laugh about it. That's hopefully you guys saw the video. I'm going to be doing an experiment later this month. Thank you guys so much for already who have left comments about ideas. I think that's going to really help. That's why I did it that way, because I know you guys can sometimes think better than me. And so I definitely have gotten some better ideas for the test. But I mean, really, I also explained in that video why ballers should just, cash in their chips now, head over to the casino host, because it's obvious if you can just think, if you can just rationalize reality in your mind and realize that if you stood back and looked at this 3-mile stretch, and it is in fact the case that it bends 6 feet down on the right 3 miles from you, then that would mean that the water would have to rush that direction. That it can't be equal from the center, because then you couldn't look at a left to right change of 6 feet and it not do anything. It's just water runs downhill. If it's 6 feet downhill, water will run that direction. It's not what we're going to see. The test will, in my opinion, show. But again, the good thing about tests, and I had somebody else write me and say, you can't do this test, you're biased. You can't do. I said, look, when Aries failure happened, was he biased? Of course. That's why they called it Aries failure. Was Michelson Morley, were they looking to prove the spin of the Earth? Were they biased? Absolutely. But somebody who's in it for the truth, somebody who really is there for the truth, is going to report the facts of the experiment. And that's completely what I plan to do. Like I said, if it is curved, if it does come back curved, then I can have no further belief in a plane Earth, a flat level plane. I can still believe NASA lied to us in every possible way. Thank you so much, Christian. Appreciate that. But the issue with that is that I don't think it's even possible. So do I go into the experiment with a hypothesis of what I'm going to see? I do. Do I report exactly what I find? I'm going to. There's no reason to lie to say the Earth is flat. Probably the dumbest move you could make ever. There's just no reason at all. we clearly see the other side of that story, but there's no reason to do it. If we're wrong, oh well. Then we helped confirm what we were all taught in school, and we think of how much more, I'm just speaking for myself, but maybe I've heard it from quite a few people, think how much more you've learned about where you live in the past 2 years. I mean, really think about what you knew before versus what you may know now, or at least know to be fake, which is something that I've come across. I mean, I know certainly more about the model, more about science, more about the stars, more about the distances, more about, and it didn't help me come to the conclusion that the Earth was a ball. In fact, it just further and further told me that it's a storybook. It's an absolute story. So let's continue on. We don't want to go too long here. I want to pull up some more videos. And let's go to, do I have anything else open in that window? No. Okay, so I'm going to flip back over to these videos. 1 second. My mouse is gone. There we go. And nope. All right. So now we're going to watch some funny little, it's just more reasons for people to know that they need to look at NASA with a different eye, because if they fake stuff back then they fake stuff now. This is a docking simulator that they built in this huge warehouse. You can actually find videos and pictures of this when the lights are all out and it's black as could be. I mean, this structure is exactly what they used to fake the moon landings, or at least the LEM flying, because this is exactly what you saw. This thing on little gimbals, on little, yaw pitch and rolls. And here they're doing a Gemini practice or something. But, I mean, this thing looks exactly like what is happening in space, but it's just black behind it. Still looks like these same crappy models. Again, they didn't have the technology, 40, 50 years ago to make things look too good. And we're going to show that here in a second with more footage. This thing here is pretty crazy. This one here I couldn't figure out really at first. This guy looks like he's standing. This guy looks like he's sitting in a chair. This guy brings over a backpack unit. Now watch this, because it's going to float. Or at least it's on wires or something. I don't know. But that thing is like floating. And he puts it on this guy's back. And then they power themselves around what looks like some room. I don't know. Got to look into it some more, because it is interesting. And I don't know if this is on a parabolic flight, if they're like in a super guppy. This guy's doing backflips. This here, I mean, everywhere looks like a pool to me now. But I do see somebody wearing a hat. I don't think you can wear hats in pools. Perhaps they are in some sort of a different kind of water, one that we don't know about, one that's got really low viscosity. Not really sure. This looks like it's definitely the hull of a plane, which I'm sure most of their stuff early days was done in parabolic flights. But let's continue on from here. I'm sure you've all seen the lunar landing training videos. This is the only lander they ever made to practice on Earth. And it was real pretty. And they had it hoisted up because they were trying to take off 5/6 of the weight to simulate moon gravity, so-called. But this gets funny here in a second. Maybe you've seen them do these kind of tests before. Watch this one. This is them. I can't for the life of me figure out why you would ever do this. They look so stupid, number one. This is them practicing for lunar, it's like lunar landing training. And in a second, they have some other guy come out with, I don't know, he's got a whole body cast of rickety crickets on. And then he's running. And, I mean, this right here, at first I was kind of confused what's going on, but they're looking down. This guy's walking sideways. This is the street. So the street is on the ground. We're looking like above it, bird's eye view. This guy's walking on the side of some wall, which I don't know how that simulates moon gravity. You wouldn't be walking on the side of the moon. Doesn't make any sense. I mean, what is this? Wait till you see the next guy. You think this guy's funny. This guy's classic. Look at this guy's get up here in a second. Wait till you see this. Yeah, there you go. Just guinea pig it. Wow. And then he goes for a run, which is kind of funny. And then he straps on a backpack and like flies around. I don't know. These are just old tapes I found that just make me, I mean, look at this. I mean, did you know, get this stat, just thinking of this guy looks like he has no head. Look, he's like with a jetpack. Good thing we never went with one of those on NASA. Did you know that less than 15 years passed between the very first satellite that went into space and the last man who went to the moon? That's what you're supposed to believe. You believe that? 15 years, we put a satellite in space, followed by men on the moon, where nobody died. In fact, we never even sent like practice runs of just the LEM or anything like that. We just, oh wait, they went around the Earth? Okay, next time send people. Go around the moon. And nothing happened? Yeah, right. Sure. That's exactly. We televised it live for everyone to watch at home, too. Tune in. Take your kids out of school. Have them sit in front of the couch at 1 a.m. We're going to watch these guys get on the moon where they could get eaten by aliens. You know, where they could get crushed by the weight. We didn't get the gravity right. No, instead they scheduled everything, told you exactly when to be watching your TV, exactly when the phone call would be, exactly when they would do the ceremony with the flag. And this way you all got to watch it from home, because that's how things go when it's real dangerous and real. You know, these people, they never acted like they were in any danger because they weren't in any danger. I don't know what this is. Pretty funny. And then this guy, I couldn't really explain this either. It's like they're squirting something at him because, oops. I don't know. I just saw stuff appear on the wall. Very weird. Extremely weird. So I don't think they ever decided to go with that pack there. Now, earlier I was talking about speeds because I still am not ready to believe in any kind of speed that they talk about. Let's watch this. Watch this thing come by. It's going to be a F-18, I believe. Watch this thing. Okay, watch that thing taking off. Imagine a shuttle's taking off. Goodbye, shuttle. Goodbye. Guess how fast that plane goes? Like 1,100. And it doesn't even sound like it's breaking the sound barrier. So it might even be going 600. Might be going 4, 3, 2. I don't know. It's very low. Could probably be going 200. It really could. And look how fast it moves by you. So why, when we see these shuttles get up there, do they limber along? Why does Red's Rhetoric have 4 days to film the thing taking off? Watch this thing go by. And goodbye, shuttle. This is pretty cool here at the end, though. I do enjoy stuff like this. And this is real right here, I think. I mean, this is something I don't say is not real. This jet comes by and does a straight up in the sky, straight up to the zenith. Look at that. And I think that's absolutely possible by human beings. We can go up as high as the atmosphere is, and then after that, there's no way to fly in the atmosphere. There's no way to maneuver in the atmosphere. You can fly out there if you want, but you can't steer. What are you steering against? What's making you turn? How do you pitch yaw and, you know, it's not possible. And it should be simple for us to figure that out and not let NASA and the other boys steal our money constantly while they tell us make-believe stories. Here comes this thing flying by the other way. Come by here. I think the guy says how fast it's going too here in a second. He's going 130 miles per hour. That's it. And you're supposed to believe that there's men inside of that shuttle and the rockets, the Soyuz, going 17,500 miles per hour. It simply doesn't happen. 17 times the speed of a bullet. Again, I've described it before. I think the best way to describe it is with football fields, because a bullet goes about 2 football fields, if I'm not, maybe it was 6. I think it was 2. 2 football fields in a second is how fast a bullet goes. The ISS and the rockets that leave the orbit or have to get out of the Earth's gravity and the shuttle and those things, 17,500 miles per hour is 95 football fields in a second. 95 football fields in a second? Bullshit. Let's continue. Oh, just showing this is a plane that's leaving somebody's view, and it looks just like a rocket does to me. That's what somebody films when they film a rocket flyaway. So to me, we're being had. The rocket goes the same speed as a plane. The shuttle went the same speed as a plane. And they just tell you it's faster, and we go, nom, 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 nom. Give me more. Nom, 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 nom. Fast. 17,000. They made my heart shake. Good for you. Let's continue on here. And then the last one was the Super Hornet. Yeah, so I don't think they're going those speeds at all. I don't know about you guys. I just don't buy it. One other thing I wanted to watch, and I believe I'm done with this, so I can close this. We're going to get over here. And this way. We're going to watch some Apollo 15. Now, I'm going to turn up the volume the best I can here. I want you to hear something that's going on in the background of this deep spacewalk. Apollo 15, first time that anybody went on a spacewalk so far away. They're like 125,000 miles or something. So they say, of course. But we'll just watch this a little bit from the beginning. Now, if you ask me, I'm going to move forward here where we can get a good picture. Okay, this is a picture kind of the lunar module, not the lunar module, not the it's the command module. And you can see this astronaut's head here. Now, all back here where this black is, if you ask me, scuba divers. I see them over and over again. I'll point them out just so you can kind of start to learn what to look for. Remember, they edit them out. So when I say I see a scuba diver, you're not going to see a scuba diver, but you will see things like where their hands would grab the hose. Well, they can't edit that out and re-add the hose, so what you see is just a black mark over the hose. I'll have to show you. You'll have to watch it. I'm not crazy. You'll see. But I want you to listen real carefully. I'm going to turn this up. See if we can hear what's in the background. Turn it up a little bit more. Huh? Don't know if you can hear that. I'll move forward a little bit. Keep listening for a second.
This is Houston. We're getting a clear picture now, but the aiming of the TV camera is poor. Is it possible to open the hatch wider?
You guys hear that? Let's listen again. One more time. Listen.
Yeah, I can see the TV is pointed right at the command module. Right at the interface. That's perfect.
Moving forward a little bit. Well, I'll keep playing it, but if you can't hear what it sounds like, it sounds an awful lot like this. That's what it sounds like. It's almost identical. Again, somebody could have put it there for all I know. I could not find the NASA copy of the Apollo 15 walk, and this, I'll show you who the guy's video who that is. The guy's name is Peace, Justice, Forever. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Wilson Dolphin Sounds. Wrong one. This guy's name is Abrahama Bulafia. Abrahama Bulafia. 1.5 subscribers. 1.5 thousand, I mean. Okay, so let's stop the dolphin sound and let's go back and see if we hear the same thing here.
We'll have a picture back in a minute, Houston. We're turning on the 16 millimeter.
I don't know if you can hear it. It might not be loud enough for you to hear.
Okay.
Very much seems like it to me. Let me point out some stuff here now. I'm going to turn that off because that sound just drives me crazy. But it definitely, I'll drop this link in the description too. Check it out because it definitely sounds like they're in water somewhere. And so now we're watching. Make sure my volume's on where you can hear me. Oh, good. So, okay, so you'll see these black things here when they cover. There's nothing there that's going to shadow that. See these black things here? How do I get it over here? So you'll see here people helping him behind here. This is, I think I see scuba divers here. And you see they're grabbing the rope here. Now there's help from behind him. I mean, this is not the astronaut here that's holding this rope. And as you go further, let me get it to where he comes back and then he goes back out again. I mean, when he's over here, there's just all kinds of chicanery going on. Looks like there's somebody in front right here. See this? This is what I mean by scuba diver. You're not going to see a scuba diver, but you're going to see what would be a person if they didn't black it out. So this person is holding this rope up, helping him do whatever. And you'll see here in a second, see the hands around there? I'm not sure if you can even see my cursor, but if I'm looking right at the rope out of the astronaut's hands, not the one closest to us, the one furthest away. And it looks like somebody's in front of him. And you'll see here, we'll move a little bit further ahead. Okay, now watch this rope here. And who's holding that rope up? Who's holding this rope? That's just how it floats? No, I don't think so. Why are we not seeing this rope here? You know, what's going on in front here? This is a person. There's a person that's been edited out of this scene. That's what's going on right here. Hopefully you can see my mouse. But if you can't, right in front of where the astronaut would be, there's a black blob. Look at it keeps covering up the rope back there with its back feet. See? This is a person. Again, can't prove it. Just something you should look for at every spacewalk, because once you start to see through the veil, it becomes hard not to see it. You'll see here, I mean, he just threw that to somebody and they carried it off or something. I don't think this thing is floating like that. You can see this blob is now moving over here. Look at this blob. This is an edited person. Clearly. It's probably a scuba diver who's helping him, and that's why they've got him in all their practices. I mean, look at this. You can see somebody holding this damn rope. Anybody see this? This is being held. See this hand right here? Hopefully you can see my mouse. I can't. When I click over to see, then of course I'm not using my mouse on it. Let me see if I can figure out if you can see it. Oh, now to let it go. This guy, I mean, look at this. I don't know, pretty cut and dry to me, but I know some people have different opinions on that. To me, there's definitely, and it could, maybe it's not scuba divers, maybe they're not in water, maybe they're in a studio set on wires, and maybe it's a guy on wires that's helping them. I don't know. But I see space bubbles, and I see lots of them, and that tends to, and look at what's going on here. What is going on back here? Why would none of this stuff be visible now? It's all being blocked by, and let's kick our feet right in front of the camera. Kind of block what we're doing here. And again, no engineer in their right mind would ever put film canisters on the outside of the command module, which requires you then to completely suit up in your gear and go out and risk your life to retrieve a film canister that someone just could have designed to be removed from the inside. But nobody asks these questions. Nobody wants to. Nobody, they're afraid of being, called stupid or dumb, and that's kind of the whole program. That's the whole point. That's why they teach it that way. Because this way, nobody asks questions. Nobody demands answers. And the world, it's just like, I've got to do a video on it soon, but because it's pissing me off every day, is the Federal Reserve. I don't understand why we haven't, as a nation, just completely taken power from them and completely thrown away any idea of central banking like that. It just is completely and totally a joke. If you just look at Woodrow Wilson's, he's the one who signed the act, and then 3 years later has a quote where he says that he's done the most dastardly of all things, sold out his people. Nobody's chatting in the Discord. We're just checking there. Maybe real quick I'll look at that and then we can leave it on that. Just wanted to go over those couple things today. I've got a lot of other things lined up coming up soon. A lot of videos I want to do, and so that people know, the reason that I haven't done the Titanic video yet is because the Titanic is directly involved with the Federal Reserve, and so it's a more comprehensive video than I had done originally. So I'm going to include them both. Let's see here if I can find it real quick. I just want to read that quote so that people start paying attention to that. Something that we all should recognize, that the reason that the world is the way it is because of the central banking. And it's something that I think we can end. And nobody's talking about it. Well, people are talking about it, not a lot of people. And not me. I haven't talked about it much. But let's see if I can find, this one here is the quote. So in 1913, he signed the act. And then in 1916, he had this to say. Let's see here. Where is it? Let's read some of these real quick just to get them out here. So politicians who said something. Let's see. Are any of these ones I've heard before? No, I don't like that one. These are all great quotes, but not the ones I'm looking for. Let's see here. This quote here says, "The banks do create money. They have been doing it for a long time, but they didn't realize it and they did not admit it. Very few did. You will find in all sorts of documents, financial textbooks, etc. But in the intervening years, and we must be perfectly frank about these things, there has been a development of thought. Until today, I doubt very much whether you would have get many prominent bankers to attempt to deny that banks create it." Henry Ford said, "It is well enough that people of this nation do not understand our banking and our money system, for if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning." This is being said about the system we have set up today 100 years ago. 100 years ago, people are saying if we knew what was going on, we would revolt. And yet, it still goes on today. Let me see. I actually have another better graphic I can bring up. I think I've got it in here somewhere. 1 second. Because I started to put something together for my video, and I put that quote in it. So let me find it here. All right, here it is. Maybe this one or the other one. So what Woodrow Wilson said was, Charles Lindbergh first in 1913. Let me see what you are seeing here. It's fine. We'll go to this one. So Woodrow Wilson said Charles Lindbergh said in 1913, when he was a congressman, that the Federal Reserve the Federal Reserve Act establishes the most gigantic trust on earth. When President Wilson signs this bill, the invisible government of the monetary power will be legalized. The worst legislative crime of the ages is perpetuated by this banking and currency bill. So people knew before he signed it that it was going to be kind of the death of the nation, and yet you still got people out there who say, conspiracy? Oh, goodness, you believe in conspiracies. They can never get away with it, dude. Well, they can get away with it because they just do it in your face. And nobody even does anything. So they absolutely can get away with it, and they do. But let's go to Woodrow Wilson. This quote I thought was pretty crazy. So again, he signs the bill. Remember that. And then comes back in 1916. It's got to be one of these files. That's the Lindbergh. Nope. 1 second. I thought I had it. Okay, Lindbergh, 1913. Saw that one. Here's Woodrow Wilson, 1916. Here's his quote. He said, "I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is controlled by its system of credit. Our system of credit is concentrated. The growth of the nation, therefore, and all of our activities are in the hands of a few men. We have come to be one of the worst ruled, one of the most completely controlled and dominated governments in the civilized world. No longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and the vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men." When the President of the United States says that, how do we not do something? You know? And I mean, that guy was... If you start looking into these presidents, every single one of them's got a story. You're like, what the hell? Woodrow Wilson lost his wife. She died when he was in office, and within a year, he had met some girl who basically came from Rockefeller Center. He meets her, courts her, they get married in less than a year after his wife dies. She moves into the White House. Not very much longer, Woodrow Wilson has a stroke where he is paralyzed, and yet the story is they didn't want to tell the public that he was paralyzed. So for 2.5 years, his wife made every decision, who was a Rockefeller plant. I mean, it's just crazy the stuff that we don't even know, because they could get away with it back then. They could get away with it now, probably, but they just pretended like he was fine, and they probably drugged him. And if they would have killed him, then it would have been the vice president's position. And so instead, they just they let his wife move in, and she's the one who made all the decisions. And she just pretended like it was him. But they say that, you know, his cabinet was gone, all of his advisors were gone, that she didn't want anything to do with him. She just said it would just be her and him, and she'd use her hand with his hand to sign papers. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So anyway, I got a whole bunch more stuff on that. Thomas Edison, just a real quick quote from him. I've never been an Edison fan, but makes sense here when he says, "If our nation can issue a dollar bond, it can issue a dollar bill. The element that makes the bond good makes the bill good also. The difference between the bond and the bill is the bond lets money brokers collect twice the amount of the bond and an additional 20%, whereas the currency pays nobody but those who contribute directly in some useful way. It is absurd to say that our country can issue $30 million in bonds and not $30 million in currency. Both are promises to pay, but one promise fattens the usurers and the other helps the people." And basically he was saying exactly what was going to happen. Here's another great quote by Sir Josiah Stamp, who was the president of the Bank of England in the 20s. He said, "Banking was conceived in iniquity and was born in sin. The bankers own the earth. Take it away from them, but leave them the power to create deposits, and with the flick of a pen, they will have enough deposits to buy it back again. However, take it away from them, and all their great fortunes like mine will disappear, and they ought to disappear, for this would be a happier and better world to live in. But if you wish to remain the slaves of bankers and pay the cost of your own slavery, let them continue to create deposits." Well, guess who creates deposits today? Hasn't changed. So, I'm going to take a quick look at the chats, and if that's all good, then we will head out. I don't see anything in Discord, so I'm closing that. Bye, patrons. And let me turn over here and bring up the chat. If anybody's got a quick question, I got 5 or 10 minutes, and then we will call it a day for today. Also, just be careful. I've heard a lot of people falling for the Irma and these two storms, that there was a movie made, you know, I think they say it was 11 years ago, 9 months ago, and it had both those names. Just don't fall for that. I did some research on it. It's close. It's like 11 years and 10 months. And also, from everything I could tell, those names were not used in the movie. But if you have different information, let me know. I just want to make sure people don't dive down that rabbit hole for no reason. Yes, they do. They own the banks. Major corporations, every sports team. That is the truth. Again, doesn't mean anybody's being racist. It's being factual. Nobody's saying that all Jews are bad people. But a lot of the heads of corporations and media and sports teams happen to be Jewish. Thank you, DJ. Did I check about perspective? You'll have to explain that. I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah, and check out, sorry I'm eating now, but check out Globebusters tomorrow. Should be a great show. 12 noon. What's up, Luke? 12 noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. Should be a great show. Jesus loves me. All right. Jesus. That is very nice of him, because he's never met me. So, pretty sweet. Nice guy. Let's see. Anything else? Remember to put my name in the comment if you have a question I'm just checking a few other things here. And so I like doing these live videos when I just have a couple things to show. It's not enough to put into a video, but it also isn't something I want to dismiss and just not cover at some point, so it's just easy to do them this way. Why is Morgan not on the show? He is. He'll be back tomorrow. About the telescope, call me. Oh, okay. Very cool. I'll call you. And the Fed, I agree. Thank you so much. I'm not sure what MX is, but thank you. Jeranism, do an 8 hour. I will soon. I'll get back to it. Jaren, what does the moon look like the last couple of nights where you've been? Normal. I don't know. It's been a little, less than full. Thank you so much for that. I kind of got screwed the other day. I went to tape the ISS, and either I got there a little bit late, like by 30 seconds, or I couldn't see it. But I think my clock is, or the camera's clock is correct, and it said that I started recording at 35, and there's nothing that happens. But I do remember getting out of the truck, and I thought it was 36 after. So if that was the case, then I did miss it by 30 seconds, but I thought my clock would be right. Ooze 100? I don't know what that meant. Jeranism, practice drilling straight holes because it seems they... Yeah, well, I don't think we're going to do the drilling anymore. Like I said, I'm going to do another video before we finalize everything, but I've had a couple good ideas from people who don't think we need to do the drilling. So one of the ideas, just if you kind of picture it, and again, it doesn't really do much good to speculate until we get the test done. The last 2 nights have been foggy again here, but we need to get the test done where I can figure out what that beam diameter is on both the lasers, and the second one's not here yet. But, it's not going to be more than 10 feet, that much I know. I would like to think it would be 4 or 3, my hope. But even then, I'll try and get a focuser. But really, if somebody had mentioned, if you take that laser light and shoot it on the inside of the river, so on the water side of the posts rather than on right through the posts, that you could still mark where they're crossing the posts with like the white paint. Basically, you just swing the laser, or point the laser right next to, so it's going right by the post rather than drilling through it, which might help the situation where if the beam diameter, somebody had mentioned a good point, if the beam diameter is even a foot, say on the 5th post, well, if we're only making a hole that's 2 or 3 inches, well, that's not going to cut it. So I think we have to rethink that a little bit, how we're going to go about that. I've had other people say to cut the piece of wood so that the laser just goes over the top of it. So that's another idea. If you have ideas for that, in the description of that video, there's a link to a comment board where I've been looking at that daily and kind of checking up on what people are saying. So as far as I know, more guy will be back tomorrow. 8 hour, I promise you I'll do one soon. Jeranism Ooze 100. I don't know what that means. What is the Discord channel? Yeah, well, the Discord channel right now is just for patrons, which you can be a patron for $1. But it's just a place where those people are showing up. Hasn't been very popular yet, but we had a couple good nights there. We got on some voice chats, and but that's for right now. That's just, I wanted to give something back to them, and thought it'd be cool to have a room where they can talk. And then I'm going to have rather than have it on the screen, which was a nightmare because people would write whatever they wanted, I figured I'd do without the chat on the screen anymore. And so I said it would be best if I just had that chat up, because for now it's less people. It's hard to follow this one. Somebody says you need a rope across water to have equal distance from every post to that thing that measures drop to water. No, no, nothing like that. It's going to measure the surface of the water to the white paint. So rope is not going to do you any good. And it doesn't matter the distance to each of those posts. The post could be at 1/4 mile and then 3/4 mile and then 2 3/4 mile. Those make no difference. It's just the first and the last post, obviously, that are the laser and the last post that really make a difference. We're just going to do it every half mile because we can start to see if the place that the beam is hitting is getting higher and higher. But as far as measuring from the water, and I'm still looking into it. Thank you, Chris. Chris was really helpful in telling me just to double check on the river. And I thought it was a slough, and I looked it up again, and it is a canal. But he was worried that maybe it flowed in one direction. From the guys I talked to that own the land right next to it, they said for the most part it's very stagnant. It just sits there. So I don't think it is a flowing river. It's more of like a offshoot of the San Joaquin River. Can I keep going? Okay, Matt, I see your email and I'm writing it down as we speak. Gone for broken. Okay, at Gmail. I'll email you. I would love to have a surveyor's thoughts on this. Where is my pen? Here it is. 1 second. So that's, oops, gone. And I'll let everybody know as soon as I, if we can do it tonight, I would love to do it tonight and then talk about it tomorrow. Gone for broke at Gmail. Gotcha. Is the test on that laser? We do have a spot where we're going to test it. 3 miles. It's all downhill. It's going to be up against a building, and either I'll drop miss off, or we were just thinking of setting up the camera and then going to the other spot, shining the laser, and then go back and check the camera footage to see what it's at. So let's see a couple more. Land surveyor. Oops, I lost you. Thank you for all you've done. Hey, thanks. Awesome. Appreciate that. And yeah, we got a lot more work to do. It's getting more difficult and more difficult because they're going to keep, the hope would be for this test, just so people know, the hope would be if it goes well, that we'll get some ideas to perfect it. And then the next time I go, I'll do the same exact test, but we'll go with like a camera crew, make it like a documentary, and I'll call the media and say, hey, we've proven the Earth has no curve. If you want to come out and check it again. And we'll just make sure that the second time is dead on. So not to say that I don't want this one to be dead on. I do. And we're going to do the best we can. But I think that, I also know that I'm going to learn something when we're out there. And so that's part of it. But I think we can walk away with a couple answers and hoping to see what they are. And it should be at the end of this month. So you need to mark elevation above the water equal on each post. I guess I don't understand what you mean. So we're measuring, once we've put the white marks, then we're just measuring from the water line to the white marks, so that there is no need for elevation because it doesn't matter. Elevation is set at 0 based on the water. So I guess I'm confused what you're saying. Are you saying that the water line could be higher on one side than the other? Because that's not possible. That's the basis of the test, is that water is level. The question becomes, is water level because it's a level plane, or is water level because it's all equal distant from the center of a ball? So write back if you think I've missed that. Thank you for all you did. I think I read that one. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Jewish come from Catholicism. I'm pretty sure that the Jews were around before that, but maybe not. If I will say, if you guys have seen yet the Flat Earth Rant by D. Marble, that's a great one. D. Marble, awesome. Are you ever going to do your video on a thought on evolution, or have you done one already? I've done a couple. If you look on my channel, there's a couple scientism videos. One that's called Jurassic Dogma. I talk a little bit about evolution in there. There's one called The Death of the Globe. I talk about evolution there. See, Globebusters, do solar flares take a while to travel the 3K miles or what? No idea. I think that they don't go very fast, no. They probably move like that expendable tank did. So Sean Murray Rothbard says water is not level. So, okay, explain to me that. I'd like to know what you mean by that. And if you're talking about in the ocean, that there's waves and there's swell, everybody knows that. But if you pour any glass of water in a cup, or in a basin, or in a trough, or in a pool, that water is level. In fact, even the globe believers say that the water in Australia is level with the water in San Diego. So The elevation is how you set your benchmark for on the post. Yeah, see, I don't understand what you're saying. The benchmark on the post is simply where the laser hits it. It doesn't matter what the elevation is of the post. The post could be too high, too low, leaning over. It doesn't matter. All that matters is where does the laser hit the post and what is the distance from the surface of the water to that post position. Even if it was leaning, the laser can only hit the post at one location, at one height above sea level. That's what we're measuring. So we don't need any elevation doesn't come into this because elevation is the distance from the water to wherever the laser's hitting. And if the laser hits at, I want to set up the first post to be hit about 3 feet. If the laser hits at the 3 foot mark on the first post, then it needs to hit at the 9 foot mark on the last post. If it hits anything, 8, I would still probably say that means it's curved. 7, 6, 5, we got some issues. 4, 3, 2 means it's absolutely level. So I'll keep waiting to see if I missed your question or something incorrectly. Right, the mark on the post and measure down. Yes, correct. The mark on the post, wherever the laser crosses it, and then measuring to the water level. Hopefully that's what you mean. Globebusters, if solar flares are real and measured, is it explained in the flat Earth model? I don't think anybody's gone into solar flares yet, but I certainly don't think that solar flares prove that the sun is 92 million miles away. You believe that SOHO picture of the sun that they give you? If you believe that. The elevation, oops. Shoot, I gotta go back up. I missed your line. Damn it. Hold on a second, I'm trying to find you. How are you measuring the distance? The distance being measured by a theodolite. Theodolites can measure, that distance from the water level to the mark on the post. Keep on trucking. Thank you. Damn it. Jeranism. Each post shows to be marked the same elevation above the water next to it. Say first post is marked 5 feet above the water. Every post should be marked likely. Set up theodolite at each post. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, we could do that. In fact, Mrs. said that the other day. She was saying we should have marked on the posts, each foot up on the way up. I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's not needed, but it could be done. Because we're really measuring from wherever the laser crosses it. So regardless of what because the point is, regardless of what it says on the post, that makes no difference to its distance from the sea level. If you maybe one post is sitting on a little hill, so its 5 feet is much higher than the post next to its 5 feet, but it doesn't matter when you measure the distance from the white paint to the water level with the theodolite. You're just looking at that distance, a true distance. The elevation of the mark is the distance it is above the water if it's sea level. Yes, correct. You mean the mark from the mark that we put on there once we send the laser? That's what I don't know what you mean, because you're saying to pre-control it, like pre-set up the buckets, already knowing the distance based on the theodolite. Is kind of what you're saying, and have each post marked ahead of time with its distance above sea level. Is that what you're saying? It's really 6 1/2 dozen of another. It's the same thing as what we're talking about doing, only if you're asking me what's easier, rather than pre-mark all the posts, you don't need to mark any post until you send the laser across. Wherever it crosses each post, you put a mark there, and then the theodolite measures from the mark to the water level. Then you didn't need to know any of that other information, because if the first post is, say, 8 feet from the water level to the mark because the laser crossed it, well, then you just work your way to the right, and the next one should be like 9 feet. Then the next one should be 12, and so on and so forth, till you get to 4 feet in the 5th mile. Sorry, 4 feet in the 5th bucket, and a total of 6 feet by the 6th. So I think it's an easier system. Your system would work equally as well. It wouldn't be any worse, but it would just be more work. If I'm not mistaken what you're saying. Okay, I'm going to keep going down a little bit to see if I see anybody else. Did you call me an idiot, Ace McLeod? I saw Ace McLeod retracted his statement. Probably said, idiot, Jaren. And then he thought better of it. He's like, yeah, Jaren's all right. a good guy. Thanks, Ace. I agree with you. Earthquake Daily Forecast. Check out now on YouTube. Yeah, that guy's awesome. He has also said he has a flat Earth challenge. I suggest somebody debunks it. There's a lot of them out there. Why don't you put the posts in the water? Because the whole goal of this experiment is to not be caught up with refraction. That's the problem with the Bedford Level experiment. That's the problem with the experiments that were done over the ocean, is easily you can use refraction to dismiss the results. But by putting these buckets right next to the water, then we can still use water as the baseline, but we will not be affected by refraction. So that's the point of the experiment. Continue on here a little bit. It'll be plus or minus inches. Yeah, my opinion, definitely within a foot. And then the other two, if everybody knows about the lasers, you got to do that. Laser is level. Got it now. Well, the laser's leveling is easy because it's a huge. I don't know if you've ever seen my laser. It's a huge metal thing. It's bigger than a foot long. It's like a foot and a half long. But I'm gonna get one of those magnetic digital. Actually, get two of them. I think people agree with me on that. It's better to have two, and make sure that they are level. And then we just need to make sure that the beam diameter is not as big as it seems like it would be. But those things are weird. They because they all talk about the maximum beam divergence, basically saying like, how big can I make this beam? And it says, oh, if you do it over 3 miles, you can make the beam 89 feet big. But it doesn't tell you how small you can make them, which is weird. See if there's anything else here. Damn, this chat keeps going faster than I can catch it. Hold on, I'm going back up. No, earthquake, I saw that one. It'll be inches. Right, the laser is level. Measure the mark to the water. See now. Yep, that's what we want to do, because the laser will be level from the first post. So, and I've heard people saying already, too, something about, oh, they'll just say gravity's bending the... Well, they need the laser to go up. They need the laser to go up to the post. They need the last post to be 6 feet higher. I'm going to try and shoot the first one at 3 feet. I want to get high enough that it's not going to be, there's no atmospheric effects from the road. If we got there too early and did this like at 2 or 3, there might be some, asphalt haziness. So we're going to do it a little bit later than that. This is the plan, so that we don't have any of that haziness either. You need to make sure the laser is 100% absolute level. So that's an interesting thing. I've thought about that too. What would be the best way to determine that? I mean, if, for instance, we put it on a tripod, we throw the two digital laser or the two digital levels on there, they both say it's level. From that point, how are we going to argue with that, I guess, is the question. Or what do you mean by we have to make sure? I guess just measure like the first half mile with the theodolite to make sure it's showing the same thing. What do you think? Tell me if you got an answer on that one. Jaron, man, thank you. Ace, all right, you got my vote, Ace. Jaron for mayor. Of what city, though? Depends. I don't want to be mayor of anywhere East Coast. People like David Weiss live over there. Yuck. No, Weiss for Weiss. That's a good one. That's funny. Me and you think alike, Bum. See, Jeranism, check out hurricanes on earth.nullschool. Oh, yeah, I want to check that out. Let's do that real quick. That's a good idea. That sounds like fun. What are you guys looking at here? What are we at? Hour and a half? Yeah, we'll be done right now. You're looking at that browser. Let's go here. Let's see, earth.newschool. Oops, I have to transition for you to see. Wow, those things are whipping. Let me see here. Let's look at, let's go to the azimuthal equidistant. And we want wind, surface, air, ocean. Yeah, that's fine. That looks all good. Where'd it go? Oh, down in here. Oops. I need to flip this around. Forgot they do that now. Used to be that... Hello. Right about... Oh, I gotta straighten this out. I'm not looking straight on with my screen. I'd say about A little lower, maybe there. So it certainly is interesting. You know, I don't know if anybody's done any studies on this, but how far do the hurricanes go above and below the equator? Do they stay within the tropics? Or is there ever hurricanes outside of the tropics? I don't know if there is. Let's see how fast we can get these winds. And where is that now? Is it just hitting the Miami area? Can't get over there. They do this too, because if you drag this like this, then you just ruined your whole setup. So you can't really get over there. Go. As close as I can get. Doesn't show. They're not as fast as the trade winds or the jet streams. 145. Be interesting to see if they get much bigger than that, because the jet streams we talk about are when you get up high. Get up, 250 HPA is around 30,000 feet, and then you get these winds, and this is why everyone who says that the southern flights proves the flat Earth, well, they've never looked at this jet stream coming through here. 164 kilometers an hour, 141, 211, 195, 160, 134. So you're talking about 100 miles per hour or more, helping these planes along. And then when they go back the other way, this flight takes so much longer, but I think they just go up a little bit higher, because once you get up near 45,000, then you get a better, route this way. That's interesting. It's usually not that strong. Oops. Well, that looks really dialed in. Look at that. But you can go this way now, see? And this is why this flight takes 14 hours going here. And I just want to real quick look back at the globe, because this looks all nice and orderly. Let's see how the globe makes any sense. And of course it doesn't. I mean, what sense would this make? Why would this kind of whipping be going around down here but not up here? Makes no sense. Zero. Can't be a ball. Keep fighting it, Globers. I mean, look at this. Aren't you embarrassed? It's embarrassing. Oh. I mean, it's going around the outside. It's not. Why wouldn't it do the same thing here? What could possibly happen to an Earth spinning this way? Number one. I mean, look which way the winds are going, folks. The winds are going this way. That's the way that the Earth spins. And the winds are going faster, red winds, faster than the Earth spins. Winds faster, Earth spin. Impossibilidad. It's impossible. All right, I'm going to check and then I got to go. I try to keep these ones short. Let's see here. Fun sending up balloons from something island. Jeez. Thing's a nightmare. Sorry for Spanish, but beware of user Kermit clocks on Steam. Okay. Jaren, just debunk the globe, period. It's easy, huh? How can we live on a ball if we humans never take into account the curvature of the ball? The simple proof works well. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what's so hard for people to understand. That is so easy to understand once you see it. Is you can't live on a ball. It's just not possible. There's just not. There isn't the kind of evidence that would be required for us to even consider it. There's just no, I've heard people say, well, you always say that the water lies level, but it has swells and waves. I think I heard Jed Skeptic say that the other day. What a joke. That's a big difference between swells and waves and upside down water. That water curves around like a ball. There's nobody who's upside down for me right now. I'm sure of that. You're not upside down for me. Doesn't make any sense. Nobody's perpendicular to me. We all stand on the same level plane. How it all works, what the shape of the continents are, how does the South Pole work, how does the North Pole work, what magnets are where, is it toroidal? I don't know those things, but I know that the only way we're going to get there is by exposing the fraud that has taken place. And just like I talked about with the Federal Reserve, and just like I talked about with this lie from NASA and those before it, we're talking like 100 years. I mean, really, really talking about 100 years And you could go further back if you want to go to Copernicus and go to Galileo and stuff like that. But really, the last 100 years, the wool's been pulled over the eyes. That's when the public school system has gone to the indoctrination. And some things that Bob and I talked about on Globebusters, that we clearly are not as smart as people that were around 1900. They were just more well-spoken, smarter at everyday things. And this is not so much our fault. We were given all this enjoyment and entertainment all around us. But we could tell you every celebrity husband and wife a lot better than people that are, an older generation can too. It just so happens now we have useless information in our heads, like, I know Kim Kardashian's waist size or something. 100, I think. Nothing works on a spinning ball, I agree. Our family trees don't stem from a pile of monkey poo, I agree. Flat enough? Yeah, it's, I don't see any issues with the, and there's going to be things that come up. There's going to be things that we don't know. And that's, I think part of the best thing you can do is say, I don't know. If you don't know, look it up. Bring it up in a video. Say, hey, I thought about this. Has anyone looked it up? And then let somebody look it up and let's find out. Jaron, are you going to homeschool? My son's a senior this year and he wanted to go to high school, so he's in high school. But he knows my opinion. If we were on a ball, it would have to drop away beneath us as it went up in the air and not stay at eye level. Yep, I think that's a big one too. Absolutely. And I don't necessarily think it stays at eye level. It's a little bit misleading, but I understand your premise. But definitely it should fall away. And when you go to any beach, you'll see that water does not start at your feet and fall away. And all you need to do to that is just look up any kind of a picture. Let me just go horizon at beach. Oops. If I could type at, come on, beach. The weather looks good right now. We might be able to do that test tonight. I'm excited. Okay, so here you go. This picture, for instance, and I don't even know if it's real. But when you see an image, that doesn't look real. Let's get a real one here. Any of these, but any of these look like, the water's going out away from you and dropping. And, another thing, and I don't know how true this is, something I need to look into, because I was trying to do some work on the idea of the horizon and where it should be. And, I saw something that said about other planets. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Plus, I want to eat some of these cherries. 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to horizon distance. Wikipedia. Oh yeah, so watch this. It says here, other planets. Okay. So let's think about our planet. It's, if they want to call it that, it's a ball. It's 24,901 miles around. And they say that our curvature of the Earth bends 8 inches per mile squared. Right? We're all in agreement. So let's read this. On terrestrial planets, that's us, and other solid celestial bodies with negligible atmospheric effects. Okay, so we have atmospheric effects, but it really shouldn't affect the curvature so much, the view a little bit. The distance to the horizon for a standard observer varies as the square root of the planet's radius. So is it that easy? Thus, the horizon on Mercury is 62% as far away from the observer as it is on Earth. On Mars, the figure is 73%. On the Moon, the figure is 52%. On Mimas, the figure is 18%, and so on. So I started thinking, okay, so the Moon is supposed to be, on the Moon, the figure is 52% of that of Earth. So if we grab a calculator real quick, and we do a little math, I know it's scary for me to do that, but so we'll take the Moon's radius is, I want to say it's 19, or is it 1092? I think that's what it is. Moon radius. Come on. 1092? Something like that? 1079. Okay. So 1079. And it's, so the horizon is its square distance. It's square root of that number. So if we just take a calculator out here and go 1079 square root, comes out to 32 miles. Okay, so the horizon of the moon is 32 miles, and it says that that was 52%. Let me see. Mars, the figure. Oh wait, on Moon, the figure is 52%. Okay, of that of Earth. So let's see if that number is 52% of Earth's number, sent the same way. So now we'll do. Earth's radius is 3959, and I'm doing square root of that, and I get 62.92, so 63. So that is 52% of 62. 33 is 52% of 63. So if that's correct, then it means that our horizon is 63 miles away. So I don't even get it. If our horizon is 63 miles away, why are they saying it's 3? And that seems to be something that makes more sense to me. That matches more of what we see. And there must be something wrong in that, and that's why they don't let us know that. Because basically what that is saying is that our atmosphere causes the Earth to curve in 3 miles. Oh, this is what I was basically trying to get at. The horizon that they've all been talking about, the curved horizon where boats go over, has nothing to do with the physical nature of the Earth at all. It is completely an optical illusion. So we can't see the horizon. The horizon that would be caused by the ball Earth, which so many people think you wouldn't have a horizon if it wasn't for a ball. Wrong. You would have a horizon, but the horizon for the ball Earth would be much, much, much further. So the horizon that we get at 3 miles is not a nature of a ball, or it has nothing to do with the physical nature of our planet. It has to do with the optical nature, because the horizon should be 63 miles away. Should be nowhere close. So anyway. All right, guys, I don't want to keep chewing in your ear. It's been fun. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please comment, like, and make a video about me being a shill, and how all I want is money. As I'm about to tell you, if you want to help me out, you can go to patreon.com or paypal.me/Jaron. We don't need it, but any extra is going to help us do more of this and less of what I hate to do, which is sell books and other junky real job stuff. So if you guys have any questions, I will catch up on the ask.fm very soon. So ask there. It's probably the best way. Also, I have a speak pipe on my website, jeranism.com, where on the left-hand side you can speak there, and I'll have a show here coming up soon where I will answer all those questions and yield those audio calls. And I think that is it. I can't think of anything else if I missed anything. But I appreciate you guys joining me. I know you got lots of options, and it's very cool that you choose to be here. Till next time, be kind to each other, don't lie, and open your mind. There's truth inside. Peace! Some sort of evidence that deserves it, and I have yet to see anything like that. So yeah, this is your Saturn. Can you say that looks like a sphere? Yeah, it's up to you. Does it spin? I think so. Does it? Is it just gas? Is it just, how big is it? I have no idea. Could be tiny. Could be tiny and close, or it could be big and far. Who do you have to trust? Well, you got to go back to your wonderful NASA. So, let's discuss more about them as we move on and talk about some space fakes. Hopefully this video will stay short, but I just want to show off some things that more and more people should start awakening to. We're now watching a Kennedy Space Center launch of the shuttle Discovery. Another thing we never see is all these military helicopters that are there all over. And we're going to watch something here at the takeoff. By the way, for those who don't know, you're about to watch the world's most expensive balloon, the big red tank, the expendable tank. Yeah, that is a big helium balloon. And in my opinion, it's a big helium balloon, and we'll see several reasons why. You can see this thing will start rocking as if it's a balloon. And let's see it go. I don't have any sound on if you were wondering. That sound just drives me crazy. So this red thing is the balloon as it goes up here. And as it... Oops, I lost my page. There we go. As you see, as it starts to go, well, the plane is heavier than the helium balloon, so it kind of falls on its back, and they make up some excuse to tell us that it's supposed to do that, because that makes a lot of sense. Considering you're going to expel this tank from you, I'm assuming you want to be under it, because it clearly makes a lot of sense. Let's watch something a little closer here in a second. We're going to get to... Now, pay attention to something here that's interesting. Remember how fast this thing is supposedly going, or how fast it has to go to get out of the atmosphere? It's ridiculous when you really, really think about it. I mean, we can barely get a bullet to go 1,200 miles per hour, 1,500 miles per hour. That's how fast a bullet is shot. So if you just made it a bunch bigger and put a bunch of people inside of it, you could go 17 times as fast as that bullet. Keep dreaming. This thing here looks like an airplane. Okay, an airplane that flies away from you is the same speed as the shuttle and all the rockets fly away from you. Are they moving at any faster speed? Do we see them just take off and they're gone? You ever watched we'll watch an F-18 flyby here in a second. But I want you to pay attention to something here. When these tanks expel, first thing to watch for, well, there's a cut coming up here in a few minutes, or in a few seconds. I think it's around 50 something. And then you'll see the fire start out in front of these things. Let's go ahead and play it and I'll show you. The cut happens before that, so the cut's going to happen right about here somewhere. You'll just see a little glitch of a cut. Watch it, watch it, watch it. There it was. And then watch the fire out here in front of the ship. I'm going to pause it actually. Okay. So, for me, again, hey, I could be dumb as a bag of rocks. Who knows? What do we have fire out there for? What? Now we've got fire burning here. Now, this tank's on fire. The top one. But why did that fire come out of the top? What? Let's go back just and see if I missed something here. Okay, so everything's on there. And there's the cut. And we get boom. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me that that would happen because those tanks fell off 60 and then by 60 and then figured out exactly how much it would be per second. And it is around $10,464. So every second that goes by, we add another $10,464 to the never-ending space scam spending clock until somebody decides to pay us back. But it's going to take some work, mostly because most of the world still is under this belief that these things we're about to take a look at are real. That even though they've never been to space, they'll never go to space. For some reason, they want to believe in it so bad that they will allow someone to just make up anything they want about it. Doesn't matter what they say. Let's go over to, first and foremost, let me check over here. If you're in the Discord chat, hello. I've got that open so I can see anything you guys have to say. I don't have the regular chat open yet. I might soon. And I know I'm behind on my ask.fm questions. So if you have sent one of those in the last 2 days, I have not got to them. I will soon. Let me get to this now. 1 second. So we're going to be watching some videos here. And let's just start out with the first one here just to show you why you might want to doubt space. This is everyone's favorite camera, the P900, which is going to show us Saturn, the big, beautiful sphere that is Saturn. while we're watching this masterpiece of beautiful sphere gas planets, if you could just let me know in the chat, somebody, if the sound of the video is okay and my sound is okay. If not, then I'll probably throw a fit and leave. So we'll see. But while we watch this, remember, this is Saturn. And I just got done the other day doing a video where they were talking to somebody from NASA, and she said that before Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 went out, she'd been looking through the best telescopes in the world, and all they could see past Mars were fuzzy dots. So they based their whole thing on fuzzy dots. Let's continue watching, and I'll check the chat to see how the sound is. Thank you very much. The chat is funny. Thank you guys very much. I see everybody saying there's no visual. No, that's the visual. That is Saturn, believe it or not. He's kind of on the left-hand side there. I don't know if you guys have looked through a telescope at Saturn. I did. I was completely and totally unimpressed. I don't know what it is. I'm not claiming to know what it is. It certainly is interesting. However, to go to the de facto, it's 10 times the size of Earth. It's this big gas giant, and those rings are 60-mile wide bands of rock that Cassini is flying through as we speak. Yeah, I'm not going to take that leap of faith until I see off. Everything gets engulfed, and we lose those. And of course, do we never get a finishing view? No, this thing just flies off, and then they show us this guy reaching for it. And they go to black. Pretty funny. Now what I want you to see next is pretty hilarious. So if you don't know what that was, that orange tank that's on there is called the exterior tank. It actually gets dropped. Let's watch it here as it drops. Is it this one? I believe so. All right. So this is the tank supposedly. Now get this. This video is being taken by people on the shuttle after it has been expended and they're orbiting around or doing, I don't know what they do, being clowns. This thing falls and they're able to track it with the camera. Okay, so let's keep watching this thing fall. Doesn't even look like the same tank to me. And what do you think happens with that tank? Many people might think, oh, well, that's easy. It gets recovered. No, it gets burnt up in the atmosphere and never reaches Earth. That's what they want you to believe. That just, and this thing goes off right after Miko. So it's not even on there very long, maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I don't know. And then it falls back but never reaches Earth because it burns up in the atmosphere. And yet, think of all the highly sophisticated electronics that must be, and the electric that must be run through it. I mean, everything that must be used to make it up. I mean, first of all, it's got to get the rocket to, or I'm sorry, the shuttle to space. So isn't it going to be made of the best titanium? And I mean, who knows what it's made of? But why do we have to, and oh, see that? That was interesting too. Looks like they were in a plane, not in a shuttle. And then they see some white thing here flying. I don't know what that is, and I don't know why this guy's head's in the screen either. You know, these are the kind of things you can't bring up when you're talking to NASA fanboys, because they'll just say, dude, they're showing this off a screen. They're filming the screen, dude. Okay, great. Then I just won't bring those things up. They're constant anomalies. Every single video gets kind of tiresome, though, considering they never have to do that one thing which anybody else would have to do, and that's show proof, show evidence, show facts, not just conjecture and not just because smart people say so. That doesn't mean anything. We've seen what direction that goes. So let's go to the next video and watch again. Hopefully you start finding these as funny as I do, saving some of the best to last. Here is this one. For some reason, we've got a white screen. Looks like some sort of shed. Don't know what that, little sled or something. Oh, it's the tank. In case you were wondering. This tank looks nothing like, I mean, what is going on here? Is this thing, this is falling back to Earth so that it's expanded, or is it in orbit? I mean, all of their nonsense absolutely is not logical. It's just not the way things would go. Why would you let this burn up in the atmosphere rather than recover it? Why not put a parachute on it and recover it? How could the parachute be more expensive than everything it took to build that thing? It's a joke. And again, remember how big of a joke our country is anyway. That we had 6 vehicles at the time, then down to 4 after 2 of them supposedly got lost. But we had 4 vehicles at the very least that could take humans to and from space. It could go into orbit. It could stay for weeks at a time. It could fix satellite dishes. It could do or satellites. It had all these capabilities. The United States, let's just get rid of it. Let's just get rid of it. What do we need it for? It's not important. So now every time you see the old lady or a Two-Fish and those guys going up to the ISS, 84 million.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jeranism back with a live video for you today. Let's talk about and take a look at more NASA evidence, or more evidence that NASA's a fraud, as is their little vector logoed friends, Nos Cosmos in Russia, Jactia in Japan, and of course, who can forget Fake X? Don't forget them. Blue Origin, I think that's their name too. There's equally as fake as the rest of them. No public or any kind of, they don't give any kind of announcements when their launches are going to be. Nothing at all. They don't tell you where the location is, so no press is allowed there, because that's what you do when you're really doing lots of real stuff, right? So, speaking of those wonderful space agencies, let me bring you up with the, what is that there for? 1 second. Don't know what that is. Interesting. Okay. We'll do this one. All right. So, bring up this page for you. Some interesting things I added to the upper right-hand corner of the live stream little overlay there. It took me almost a few hours to get it right, but I finally did. It is the Space Scam spending clock. I'll keep that going at all times for us. That is the amount of money stolen from the world since 1960 by our space agencies. It was figured out quite easily. Just looked up space revenue, space-related revenue, and believe me, there is a ton. And let's see, this year was $335 billion, I believe, or that's what the proposal is, or the estimation. So 335, and then you can go back as far as about 1960 and see what we spent every year. So added that up, and then forecasted next year at $340 billion, and simply took that number and divided by 365 and by 24 and then by $6 billion a seat on the Soyuz to take a ride to space to do what? Blow bubbles and, make magic circles out of film. I don't know what they do. They don't do any science. They never have done any science because it's all a big scam to take your money, as you can see by the clock in the upper right. So this thing, I guess, is still falling to Earth. I don't know how long it falls for. I don't know what craziness is going on. That does remind me, I did want to show you guys something. I wonder if I can find it quickly. Don't know if you guys have seen the most recent, or there's a recent launch. It's almost like the GoPro launch. I think I dropped it in this box. Let me see if I can find it here. If I can find it, I would love to show you. Let me see here. I mean, this thing's still falling. I don't know. I can't. This thing was just driving me crazy. I was just laughing all day long at this thing. And it gets worse, believe me. But let me go and see if I can find this video for you. I don't remember. If I do know where it's at or not. Did I save it? No. The video is of, like I said, it's like the GoPro launch. The Go Fast rocket, the one that a lot of people said they thought hit a dome or something like it. It's the same situation again, only this one they actually claim that it's in microgravity for 6 minutes. Let me show you the video. It's worth seeing. Give me 1 second as I secure it. And hopefully you guys are watching right now the falling tank ever so slowly. Probably because it's still halfway filled with helium. That's my guess. Let's see here. All right. Get this link for you. It is a YouTube video. I hope, yeah, it is. I hope. Whoops, that's not the right plot. Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys got any suggestions of what you think that could be doing as far as its so-called fall. Doesn't look like microgravity. It's certainly not stuck. Let's see here. I got this one. Let me grab the URL. Okay. So I do have that video ready. We'll cue that up in a second here. I think you'll find it interesting. Maybe most of you might have already seen it, to be honest. I'm not sure, but it's still worth a gander. All right, so I'm going to bring that up right now. 1 second. Turn this down. And let's turn this off for a second. Still falling. All right, so now we're going to go over to this other one here. And you'll have to watch it carefully. And then, you know, I've had a lot of people, I put it into my patrons group, and everybody seemed to think that it was slowed down, or I'm not so sure. I don't think it was slowed down. Let me switch over so you can see. And there we go. So this is just at the takeoff here. And we will start watching. And I'll give you some sound too. Here we go. So we do get a little, we do lose a little bit of the view here in a second, but you can still see behind it just a little bit, so keep your eye on it. And this is pretty incredible to me. This is, you know, if this is real, we got problems. Somebody's lying to somebody.